I am Chairman Mike Patnode, and I hereby call to order the February 11th, 2021 meeting of the Kingston Springs Regional Planning Commission. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order 16, this meeting is being conducted with no physical public access. This meeting is being made available, however, to public participants via live video stream on the Zoom application. All right, so I've called the meeting to order, and I'm going to do a roll call of voting members. Keith Allgood. I don't see him, so he's absent. Tony Campbell.
Here.
Tom Cullen. I thought I saw Tom. Is Tom not here? No?
I don't see him, sir.
Okay. Josh Etherly.
Here.
Welcome, Josh. Tony Gross.
Here.
Brian McCain.
Here.
Mike Patnode, that's me here. Chuck Slater.
Here.
And Bob Stoller.
Here.
Okay, so non-voting staff, Sharon Armstrong.
Here.
John Lawless.
Here.
Jennifer No.
Here.
Is Brittany Stanley here?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, we do have a quorum. So I need a motion to approve that the Kingston Springs Regional Planning Commission finds conducting this meeting by electronic means is necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare in light of COVID-19 pandemic.
Chuck Slater, still move.
Got a second?
Second, Tony.
Okay, so we'll roll call the votes.
Yeah, they use real softball.
Keith Allgood,
Yeah,
still,
everything's real softball.
still absent. Tony Campbell,
Yeah, and it's, you can go in there and I think.
I need a yes or a no.
you can
Yeah.
get 15 goals.
Okay, Tom Cullen,
Oh, $5.
still absent.
Get you 15.
Okay, Josh Etherly,
Yes.
$2.
Tony Gross.
I was gonna say 15 goes, 15 calls.
somebody
That's-
might mute their mic if they're having a conversation.
But yeah, it is.
Tony Gross?
It's really nice. Yeah.
Was that a yes, Tony? Okay, I see. Brian McCain,
Yes, sir.
I vote yes. Chuck Slater,
Yes.
Bob Stoller.
Yes.
Okay, so that's how we're going to do the meeting. So you have before you the January 14th Planning Commission meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So move, Chuck Slater.
Do we have a second?
Second, Tony Campbell.
Okay, all right, so here's the roll. Keith Allgood, absent. Tony Campbell.
Aye.
Tom Cullen, still absent. Josh Etherly,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Brian McCain,
Yes, sir.
Mike Patnode, yes. Chuck Slater,
Yes.
Bob Stoller.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So now you have the agenda before you. This big agenda. All right, so do we have a motion to approve the agenda you have before you?
So move, Chuck Slater.
All right, we have a second?
Second, Tony Campbell.
Okay, all right, so thank you. So here we go with the vote. Keith Allgood, still absent. Tony Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Cullen, still absent. Josh Etherly,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Brian McCain,
Yes, sir.
Mike Patnode, yes. Chuck Slater,
Yes.
Bob Stoller.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so under old business, we have the Golf Club of Tennessee amended master plan. I see Jeff is here. Sharon, is this something you're going to lead off on?
Yes, sir, I will. John, if you don't mind, could you pull up the amended master plan?
Yes.
Those are the site plans. It'll load eventually. The Golf Club of Tennessee is amending or requesting to amend their site plan to add 3 projects, 2 golf bag drop-off stations. They are removing, that's good there, John. We have, if on the left of your screen, you can see the site plan where there's a golf bag drop-off station on the left in a small isolated area. In the right bottom quarter of the screen for the site plan, they are removing the existing outdoor kitchen and turning that into an open air kitchen. It's the purple shaded area. And then on one of the subsequent pages is another golf bag drop-off station. So there are 3 small projects. They're also broadening the sidewalk to the rear of the purple shaded in the center. I can't point, I apologize. But behind the pavilion, John, John's corner is on that location almost. We'll go further. There we go. That's better. So you can see the kitchen that they're redoing there. Behind that, they are putting in a walkway and they are replacing some pavers at the location in front of the country club. They're all relatively small projects, but because they affect their approved master plan, they are required to bring it back to the Planning Commission. In addition to that, we have received building plans from the builder for all 4 projects. We received an application and a permit application. None of these are in the flood area. None of them are particularly large projects. So with that, unless Mr. Hooper has something to add, I'll entertain questions from the Planning Commission.
Jeff, did you have anything to add?
Who, me?
Jeff Cooper.
Good evening. No, Commissioner Patnode, I'm just here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so are there any questions for Sharon? And then if necessary for Mr. Hooper? So Sharon, it sounds straightforward to me. Is there anything in particular that we should be concerned with?
No, sir, there is not. None of this lies in a flood area. One is a retrofit of an existing structure, the pavilion. There will be a golf bag drop-off location between the parking area and the country club. It's a relatively small footprint building. The additional golf club drop-off location is on the course and outside of the flood area.
Okay.
There's no concerns from the planning perspective.
Okay, so I see 2 items under old business, 7A and 7B. 7A being the Golf Club of Tennessee amended master plan, and B being the Golf Club of Tennessee site plan. I think you just covered both of those. Is that right?
I did. The master plan was updated as a result of the site plans that were submitted. The master plan should be approved in order first, and then the 3 site plans that we pulled up and you can see in front of you now also can be approved in one motion since they're all part of the same project and under the same scope of the same permit.
So the motion would be to approve the site plan and amended master plan.
Yes, sir, but the master plan must be approved before the site plans can be approved.
So 2 different motions?
Yes, sir.
This is Tony. I move that we approve the master plan.
Second, Chuck Slater.
Okay. Gosh darn it, let me find my roll call sheet here.
There you go, Mike.
All right, thanks. Keith Allgood? I thought I saw Keith on the camera. No, I saw Tom. Okay. Keith's still absent. Tony Campbell?
Yes, yes.
Tom Cullen?
Yes.
Josh Etherly?
Yes.
Tony Gross?
Yes.
Brian McCain?
Yes, sir.
Mike Patnode, yes. Chuck Slater?
Yes.
Bob Stoller? Bob Stoller still here? Okay, I don't hear a vote from Bob Stoller.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that motion is approved. Do we have a motion on the Golf Club of Tennessee site plan?
So moved, Tony Campbell.
Second, Chuck Slater.
Second from Chuck Slater. Okay, any questions or just further discussion? All right, so here's the roll call vote. Keith Allgood, still absent. Tony Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Cullen,
Yes.
Josh Everly,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Brian McCain,
Yes.
Mike Patnode, yes. Chuck Slater,
Yes.
Bob Stoller.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes to approve the Golf Club of Tennessee site plan change. Sharon, is there anything else on this that we need to address?
No, sir, that is all of that item under old business.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Jeff Hooper, I guess you can stay on this call if you want to. Is there anything else that he would have that we need to discuss with him, Sharon?
No, sir. That is concludes all of the business that we have with the golf club for the evening.
Okay. So you're welcome to stay on the call, but you're welcome to leave.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm actually going to stay on because I have some interest in the 9A topic.
Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, of course. All right, new business. The site plan for the Nazarene Church, West Kingston Springs Road, map 96, parcel 12.0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you'll remember back a couple of months, I, in a concept discussion, no vote taken, disclosed to the Planning Commission that the Church of the Nazarene has a requirement from the state and from the federal government to comply with handicap accessible ramps. They have proposed that project. In proposing that project, the church was built before zoning layer was added, before zoning existed in Kingston Springs. Since they were in existence before the zoning ordinance, as long as they don't change anything, they're fine, they're grandfathered in. But when they wanted to put in the new wheelchair ramp and adjust some parking and do some other things, it was evident that they weren't going to be able to meet the setbacks of the current zone. So they made an appearance before the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals approved their setbacks. Jennifer No and the city manager and I all attended that hearing. They were approved for the setback. As you can see, the elevation of the church on the front, John, if you'll point, you see the shed and then the church at the top of the screen, very close to the property line. They also had to do some adjustment to the gravel parking lot, and they wanted a different sign. So we advised them to address all of those in the change for their site plan at one time and bring it to the Planning Commission. All changes for the site have to be approved by the Planning Commission, even minor ones. So they have brought that. Mr. McCain produced the plat of survey for the church and may have comments to add.
Brian McCain, did you have any comments you wanted to add to this?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. All right. So this would be a motion to approve the site plan amendment. Is that right, Sharon?
Yes, sir.
As presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Tony Campbell.
Second, Chuck Slater.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, point of order, does Mr. McCain need to abstain because of his work on the project?
I will when we vote.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So here goes a roll call vote. Keith Allgood, still absent. Tony Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Cullen,
Yes.
Josh Etherly,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Brian McCain,
Abstain?
Abstains. Mike Patnode, yes. Chuck Slater,
Yes.
Bob Stoller.
Yes.
Okay, so the site plan amendment is approved. So now item 8B, joint growth plan appointment recommendations to the city commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John Lawless and I both will probably have comments on this item. Cheatham County has voted to open the growth plan. The growth plan was approved. I can see the flinching from here. The growth plan was approved in 2000 in Cheatham County and accepted by the state, and it's been on file with the state since that date. Kingston Springs, Pleasant View, Pegram, nor the county have made any adjustments to the growth plan in the 20 years that it's been in existence. The opening of the growth plan presents for us an opportunity to rectify some issues that have surfaced since the approval of the growth plan. Among those are parcels that are partly in and partly out of the urban growth boundary, creating a disparity for applicants. When parcels cross the line between urban growth boundary and not in the urban growth boundary, we are prohibited by state law from allowing them to develop on the portion that's not in the urban growth boundary. Secondarily, there are a couple of parcels that lie along South Harpeth that there seems to be some discrepancy between the growth plan boundary maps and the city boundary maps and the county boundary maps as to where those parcels lie. Do they lie in the county or do they lie in the city? In particular, Ms. Scanlon, whose plan you heard for subdivision last month, there is a dotted line that exists on the mapping platform and on the paper maps that indicates that a portion of her property is in the city. We have never charged taxes, but it's these types of discrepancies that are going to create issues and continue to create issues. In Ashland City, where the property line meets Davidson County, there's a discrepancy on 2 lots there that resulted, Mr. Campbell, if you'll remember, in quite a debate over who was going to provide fire services to particular lots that lay at the edge of that. So it's an opportunity for that. It's also an opportunity for us to look at the growth boundary, which is quite large, to determine whether or not we want it to remain the same or whether we want to change it. The state statutes that regulate the opening of the growth plan state that it will be opened and conducted in the same manner that the original growth plan was done. And that was done, it's done on a request to revise by a jurisdiction. That is then forwarded to the coordinating committee. The coordinating committee exists by positional appointment. And that list of appointments lies in the state statute. Or the jurisdictions can vote each separately and then collectively to do it another way. As it stands right now, there's been no change to the composition of the joint growth plan. The positional appointments include the city mayor, the county mayor, and designees. They are advised to use the resources and services of the planning commissions. Kingston Springs is a regional planning commission, which puts us in a unique position. So we have a couple of items that we need to take care of tonight. One is we need the planning commission to recommend who it wishes to sit on the joint growth plan coordinating committee from the planning commission. And we also will keep the planning commission updated. I'm ambivalent if the whole planning commission serves. I think it's a great idea, but it is going to be a compromise of time. And with that, Mr. Lawless, do you have anything to add from your discussions with the county executive?
The only thing I've got to add, I spoke with Mayor McCarver this afternoon. They plan to, his plan is to gather the group that Sharon had just spoke about within the next 30 days, 45 days at the max. So that sort of gives us a timeline to have our information together. As Sharon mentioned, that the municipalities will then meet with the county to go over all the bits and pieces. So that's really the only thing I've got.
Well, who, Tony Campbell, who prompted this to take place? I mean, who's after what?
We have very little information on that, Mr. Campbell. The county commission voted to open the growth plan. That occurred in their last monthly commission meeting. We don't have any driving factors, in particular in the town of Kingston Springs for the opening of the growth plan, but once it's open, we have to participate, we have to review, but it does provide for us an opportunity to clean up some of the boundary issues. If you'll remember, we've had some discussions in the past that the growth boundaries were in some cases drawn, particularly within the county, by using the roadway. They simply used the corridor and said, we'll go 3 parcels back and that's our growth area. In our particular case, we have some parcels that are caught partially in and partially out of the growth area. Those need to be cleaned up.
Well, I'm comfortable with that, but what I'm uncomfortable with is what the motivation is to start the whole thing, and I'm terribly suspicious.
Somebody opened it for a reason.
We opened it up
for a reason. There's no doubt.
We opened it up because of time frame. It's approaching what, 20 years or something of that nature. So we've got to open it up.
That is correct, Mr. McCain, to a degree. The plan was designed, the growth plan was designed with a 20-year lifespan. However, the legislation from the state didn't include any particular direction for what happens when the 20 years is up. So it is a really, I guess, if you're going to pick a point to open it and look at it, 20 years is a good pick point for that. It will. The last time it was opened was in 2011. Ashland City petitioned to open it in order to annex Hidden Lake Resorts, a large subdivision over there, to provide services. So for the town of Kingston Springs, the opportunity for us is to clean up some issues. And Mr. Campbell, I somewhat share your concerns for the opening of the growth plan, simply because it was a somewhat combative process in the past.
It was very combative, and we have something more involved than just Kingston Springs. I think it's important to all of us how the rest of the county is developed, and we need to have input into this process.
Yes, sir. The statutes are designed so that all plans submitted by individual jurisdictions are reviewed by everyone.
Yeah.
And there has to be an agreement to accept the plan of all the jurisdictions by all the other jurisdictions. So, John, did I understand you to say that the mayor was going to convene the committee, the coordinating committee, within the next month to 6 weeks?
Yes, 30 to 45 days.
Okay. So for this body, your obligation at this point for the Planning Commission is to recommend people to serve on that committee. This Planning Commission is allowed to have representation. So there needs to be designation of people who will sit in the coordinating committee in order to report back to this Planning Commission, also to proper forth the things that you would like to accomplish.
So a question I have then is, what would be the minimum number of people that we need to have?
You have to have one appointment from the Planning Commission, but it's my professional opinion that one member would not suffice.
Okay. In your professional opinion, do you have an idea what you would recommend or suggest?
As much as Mr. Campbell may dislike the suggestion, because he has institutional history for the growth plan process, I would like to suggest that he be one of the nominees to serve on that committee. The mayor will serve by default. The city manager will serve by default. I will serve by default. Mr. Patnode and Chairman Patnode, if you have the time available, I think it would be an important function for you as well.
So you're suggesting Tony Campbell, Tony Gross, John Lawless, yourself. You're suggesting me. A question I have, is there somebody else in our planning commission that feels, I'd like to know if somebody else feels they would like to be a part of this committee, so at least we know that.
Yeah, I mean, depending on if we don't need too many, I'm definitely would like to be a part of it. But
Okay.
Sharon, I think at some point we could have too many, right?
Yeah,
We don't need.
always a potential problem.
Yeah.
I think that is always a discussion point with large planning
Right.
projects such as these. However, the appointment does not necessitate that you attend every single meeting. If you have particular points of interest, it's much like any other planning process. It can be fluidly done so that you attend when you're able. You're not required to attend every single meeting. You are required to respond, and you would be required to be there if votes were taken. So in my professional capacity, having done comprehensive and growth plans for a number of years, different perspectives, business perspectives, citizens perspectives, just routine, regular property owner perspectives are important to the process because you get context that you otherwise won't get. So it's at the pleasure of this board. Mr. McCain will serve as part of his function because he sits on the County Planning Commission. So I think that in my opinion, I've named the bare minimum number of people that would exercise and bring something to the table for this discussion.
So counting Brian McCain, that I think I count 6, and then if Josh were a part of it, that would be 7.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right?
The mayor and the city manager and I serve regardless of appointment. We
Yeah.
can formalize it here, but we are compelled to serve.
So if you were thinking about it, Mike, from a perspective of who's potentially serving from the planning commission, it would be you, Tony, and Josh is what we're discussing right now. So those would be.
Okay,
And
thanks.
Sharon, John, and I were already there anyway.
Okay, I get it. The help. Thanks for the help. All right. So, I mean, I'm happy to do it. Obviously, I think I can handle the time commitment. It's just a matter of when it's held, but it needs to be held when most people can make it. So I'm fine with that.
Great deal
So
of the planning function, if I may, Mr. Chairman, a great deal of planning function on behalf of the city will take place external to the joint meeting with the counties and the cities. We are as a municipality instructed under the regulations and the statutes to put together our proposed plan. Each other jurisdiction does that, then we all come together to discuss the elements of that plan.
So does that imply there'd be a preliminary meeting with these 7 people to look at our proposed plan before we're part of the larger committee meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that would be another meeting. I mean,
Yes.
obviously, those of you who are required to be on it are already working on that, but I guess bringing in Josh and Tony Campbell and myself into the discussion so we have an idea of what's being presented.
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
also have the ability to handle that within planning commission meetings as a standing agenda item until it's done.
Okay, sounds good.
One other option.
Okay, well, if the mayor wants to have the first meeting in the next 30 days, we may not have a planning commission meeting before that,
That's correct.
but we would have to have this this committee meeting. Okay.
Chairman, if I could, real quick, I know that Pleasant View, Norash, and City have made their appointments. The planning or the county just passed this, and I didn't learn about it until recently. So I don't know how realistic it is that there'll be a meeting within 30 to 45 days, because the other cities will have to make their appointments as well.
Okay. Well,
John,
if it's not, then it would certainly make sense that it's on the next agenda.
John, just to clarify really quick, when you said there was going to be a meeting in the next 30 to 45 days, that was of like Sharon, that would include Sharon, yourself, and myself, right? That wouldn't necessarily include the people that were appointed. That's just like an initial conversation, maybe?
No, that was from my discussion this afternoon with Mayor McCarver, where he thought he would want to get the emissaries from the different municipalities and the county together at the same table to start the larger group discussion.
Okay, in 30 days.
Yes. I do believe, Sharon, if I'm not mistaken, there is a time frame. Once you open this can, there is a time frame before you have to have action in place.
That is correct. The state statute not only dictates who's on the coordinating committee by positional appointment, it also establishes that once the coordinating committee is notified by the county executive that the joint growth plan is going to be opened up, they have only so many days before they have to hold their first meeting. So it does place a little bit of pressure. It was my hope that we could at least get our initial appointments done tonight so that we can at least move forward to start to have an initial meeting to begin to plan how this is going to go.
So do we need to then make a motion to approve the additional members outside the required members?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is a
And the
recommendation to the city commission, correct?
It's a recommendation, is that right, Sharon?
It
Or
is a
Jonathan?
recommendation
Okay.
to the city commission, which will then go forward to the meeting next week.
All right. So just again, Tony Gross, Brian Kane and Sharon Armstrong and John Lawless, you're all required to be there. So we're only talking about other people, and the people we've discussed are Tony Campbell, Josh Etherly, and myself. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So are there any other questions or discussion? Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to identify these people as the recommended?
We recommend Mike Patno, Tony Campbell, and Josh Etherly to the City Commission to serve on this on this panel.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second, Bob Fuller.
Okay. So check me on this roll call vote because I just mixed up all my papers, John, but I think I'm right. Here we go. Keith Allgood?
Yes.
Oh, hey, welcome, Keith.
There it is.
Tony Campbell?
Yes.
Tom Cullen?
Yes.
Josh Etherly?
Yes.
Tony Gross?
Yes.
Brian McCain?
Yes.
Mike Patno, yes. Chuck Slater?
Yes.
Bob Stoller?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes to recommend this committee to the City Commission. I just asked a question, are there some minutes or something that talk about where this was discussed, opening this up to Tony Campbell's question? Is there anything captured in a meeting that I can just look at, or we can just look at to see what else may be behind this?
County.
Request those from the county, but since the meeting was, the minutes won't come forward, obviously, and be signed until this month's meeting. So
Okay.
I'll ask if those are available. I can check the Upton for those. And
They may be,
go ahead, I apologize. Shirley.
sorry, that's okay. They may be available online. A lot of times they don't put the drafts on there until they're approved by the board.
Okay. All right. Not a big deal, but I thought I'd like to see. And I think Tony Campbell would like to see, so. All right, so that's all the new business. Is that correct, John Lawless?
There is the Comprehensive Plan Committee. Did you want to talk about that, Sharon?
Oh, that's different than what we're talking about?
It is indeed, unfortunately. The City Commission had a vote to begin the process of working on the comprehensive plan. It's begun. We've had this discussion probably half a dozen times. The reason it's on the agenda again tonight is that about 50% of the demographic and other information that will be produced for the growth plan will inform the comprehensive plan. So if we could mirror those appointments just to look at that information to see what's relevant to go forward in the comprehensive plan in the future, so that we can combine that with the land use plan, the AIA plan, and the other work that the city has done, including the community survey that was started several years ago. I would like to suggest, if I might, and just hope that he doesn't hang me for this, is that Mr. Campbell be appointed to review that information. That will allow me to bring the information from the joint growth plan from there to Mr. Campbell and give that to him in order to start preparing for next year's comprehensive plan.
He says help.
Sharon, that'd be fine if I can count on you.
Yes, sir. I'll prepare the report and get it to you. I just want to be able to complete both these processes as much in simultaneous fashion as we can, so that we're not duplicating efforts over and over again.
Agree.
So what would that motion be?
He would be the planning commission, the regional planning commission's appointment to receive the data and the reports in preparation of the comprehensive plan. He's just an appointment for that position.
So that's all we're talking about right now, because it says committee appointments here. Are we just talking about
He's
that?
going to be the committee appointment. The committee has to be just like the growth plan, comprised of commission members, other people, outside entities, business owners. This is just the planning commission appointment. And since he has to read the growth plan information anyway.
Okay. So the motion would be to to recommend approval of Tony Campbell to be on the Comprehensive Plan Committee. Is that right?
Actually, a motion to appoint. This is a planning commission appointment only.
Okay.
Really
Is that a
quick,
point?
clarify, Sharon, this isn't a recommendation though. Mike said this is actually an appointment by the plan, so we don't have to recommend this to anyone.
Okay,
No,
so we're
Just our
appointing.
appointment.
Directly by the planning commission, because the comprehensive plan, unlike the growth plan, is a planning commission function. It is not a joint body function. It goes eventually to the city commission for review, but this is purely a planning commission appointment. It's like a subcommittee of the planning commission.
I motion to appoint Tony Campbell to the Comprehensive Plan Committee.
Second, Chuck Slater.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the motion? Okay. Thank you, John. Roll call. Keith Allgood,
Yes.
Tony Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Cullen,
Yes.
Josh Everly,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Brian McCain,
Yes.
Mike Patnode, yes. Chuck Slater,
Yes.
Bob Stoller.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything else under new business?
Nope.
Okay, thank you for all that, Sharon. So
Welcome.
now for discussion only, we're moving on to item 9, which is other for discussion only. The first item is the update on the Tdot replacement of South Harpeth Road Bridge over Brush Creek.
I'll take this one, Mr. Chairman. We've got a slight update, not much of an update, but an update nonetheless. The Board of Commissioners at their last meeting in January passed Resolution 21001, which was approval of the town to accept Tdot's proposal for replacing that bridge. Just another step in Tdot's process from start to finish on replacing the South Harpeth Road Bridge over Brush Creek. My understanding, they're still in the right-of-way phase. At least that's the last meeting I attended with Tdot personnel. The project is still moving along, but this was just the next step in that process. The Board of Commissioners will discuss some about the bridge at their meeting tomorrow evening, but as far as this moment, that's all I've got.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Yes,
Not
Next
tomorrow.
Thursday. I'm sorry, yes, thank you, next Thursday.
Okay, do we have any questions for John Lawless on this? Okay, thank you, John. Item B, under 9, update on Healthy Built Environment grant submission.
I'll take that one as well. We applied several months ago for what's called the Healthy Built Environment Grant. It's from the Tennessee Department of Health. It's a 100% grant. It is geared toward municipalities, counties to increase healthy alternatives for the population, whether that be medical care, healthy facilities, outdoor green space, that type of thing. We were approved in our initial letter to submit an application and did that last Friday, I do believe. We'll know on March, the first Friday in March, whether we receive this grant or not. Again, it's a 100% grant. We had requested our project to be a outdoor exercise equipment station and walking track at the corner of Harpeth Trail and East Kingston Springs Road. It's where the farmers market used to be. The proposal, it's sort of honestly sort of a long shot for the town, but would still be a very good opportunity for us and a nice addition to our parks system. So what you see here is a representation of what the exercise area would look like, as well as the area of town that the park would be located. We feel this is kind of an underserved part of town because most of the parks are on larger one, Burns City Park, of course, are closer to downtown. This area of town, although highly populated, 2 or 3 schools in the vicinity, doesn't have a lot of green space or park space Our sidewalk projects will go through this area, and we just thought it would be a great addition. Again, we'll see what happens the first weekend or first Friday in March as to whether we were approved for this grant or not. Just wanted to keep Planning Commission updated.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Okay.
Hey, Chuck,
Thank
this
you.
is going to double our HOA fees for the Woodlands.
You said 100%.
Right.
Okay. Item C, update on Tdot Community Transportation Planning Grant.
Sharon, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I do. I attended my first scoping meeting with John and Tdot for the Liban Hills corridor and the approach to I-40. It was a very productive meeting, we think. One of the topics of discussion that was of particular interest to John and I was the scope, where they're getting traffic counts and how broad they're looking. The initial discussion seemed to indicate that they wanted to stop at the intersection of Kingston Springs Road. We encouraged them somewhat strongly and politely to take that study to Highway 70, because as you know, it's become a cut through for traffic. We have also provided them with proposed developments surrounding the Liban Hills corridor that are on tap, the ones in the past, the one that we've heard, the vacant land that's available for development around the area. And I think the meeting was, from my perspective, productive. Ian Preston, the Tdot representative that's working with the city on this project, left the meeting briefly, phoned his superiors, and seemed to indicate that they would be willing to expand the scope to Highway 70 and bring that forward all the way up to Liban Hills.
We've been after them for quite a few years to do East Kingston Springs Road to Highway 70.
Yes, sir. And being aware of that, John and I felt that it was a good time, since they were establishing the boundaries of the study, to have that discussion and to explain to them the ramifications of not taking the rest of that corridor in. In addition to that, there was a little bit of discussion about signalizing the on-ramp to the interstate. And one of the points that I brought up is, if we signalize that and we have an incident, where do we stack traffic? You know, it's going to come down Liban Hills Road, which is a very short corridor, and then make the corner onto East Kingston Springs Road. Given the time of day, whether it's when school lets out or when people are coming home from work, that could create quite the traffic barrier. In addition to that, we asked them, John asked them what their window of crash data was, and it's behind a couple of recent occurrences that we felt were relevant to include in that information. So we provided them with all of the proposed developments on either side of the overpass. There's been a fair amount of discussion from people representing Petro. We've also have several residential developments that have been proposed for the adjacent area. A commercial development, again, that you're going to be hearing next month in concept form. The Fair and Ironworks project, the golf club development on the other side of the interstate, and a number of other things that are in the pipeline. So we felt it was important that they understand the context of not only, because if we provide them with that information, they include that in their traffic counts as projected data, which changes it. John, would you like to share with them where we stand from a crash data perspective as opposed to the rest of the state?
If I remember correctly, for that general area, the largest impact was the westbound exit ramp from I-40 up to Liban Hills Road, where that was the largest cluster of accidents. I believe the state average, correct me if I'm wrong, Sharon, was like 0.09 or 0.09, where ours was 3 times that at that particular intersection.
It's almost 4 times the state. average for accidents at the off-ramp or the on-ramp of an interstate exchange. So they seem to indicate that that would not be enough to secure federal dollars for relief, but it was certainly enough to kick off the state project to look for relief. As this project progresses, we'll bring it to the Planning Commission, share with you the things that we learned from them. They want to do a heavy outreach. So for the Planning Commission members, I'd like to charge you with a small task. They are looking for input from citizens, business owners, people who have something to say about the traffic issue on Lyman Hills Road, on the approach to the interstate and coming off the interstate. So as Tanisha Hall, who's been tasked with the outreach, the community outreach, public hearings, social media, that type of thing, it would be really good if our planning commissions could encourage our citizens to be vocal about their impressions of the quarter, simply because the more public input you get, the better the output of the product that we're going to get for the scope. That's all we had on that particular topic. It's just now kicking off.
So when you say be vocal, who's being vocal to whom?
Well,
And
Tanisha
how?
Hall is going to be collecting input from community. There will be a couple of public hearings. We'll let you know as far in advance as we possibly can when those will be held.
Okay.
Some of them will be held virtually. Some of them may be held in person, depending on where we are with COVID restrictions.
Okay.
There will be a Facebook presence, a Twitter presence, those types of things. So the more information they can gather from businesses and citizens as to what their negative traffic experiences are on the corridor, the more likely we are to get a really good plan produced.
Okay, so we'll watch for those announcements. That's a big thing, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Sharon and John on this Tdot update?
Yeah, I have a question. You're talking about the westbound off ramp. Is that correct, John?
Yes, sir.
You said our incidents were 4 times higher. Did they say why?
I do believe that from my understanding and talking with Mr. Story, who's with the consulting firm, as well as the Tdot representatives, I asked them, he specifically said when he looked at that intersection, he was not surprised when he received the data back. And I asked why that was, just from professional experience. Was there something about the topography? Was there something about the geometry of the intersection? His response was that it was not a signaled intersection. Those are becoming more and more infrequent. Not saying that the one that we have now should necessarily be signaled, but because it is not, he felt that was probably the primary reason that there was more accidents there than not.
Well, when we went through the process of looking at the truck stop up there, the facility up there, they pointed out that that exit ramp was much shorter than it should be, that it was a dangerous exit ramp to begin with because of the length of the distance from the interstate up to the stop sign. And I think that's probably what's causing a lot of the problems.
Mr. Campbell, I would concur with that opinion, and that issue was raised during the meeting. The length of the off-ramp was part of the discussion that came up. John and I will encourage them to look at every possible alternative. The better that we can make that intersection, the less we're going to have traffic issues in the future. And as we grow, and everybody's going to at some point, it's time to look a little further down the road than a 15-minute fix.
Amen.
Waited a long time for this process.
So yeah, if you can be just real clear, John, anytime these things are coming up that, hey guys, this is coming, so we can, it's what we talked about, so we can try to be involved.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, John. Anything else for the transportation planning grant discussion with Tdot? Okay, and the last item is the update on the Planning Commission and Appeals Board application forms.
Sharon, would you like to start on this as well?
Good. We're going to make this mercifully brief, hopefully. The form that we've been using for applications to the Planning Commission and applications to the Board of Zoning Appeals, the Construction Appeals Board, every single board is on one form. It just doesn't function well. It confuses the applicant. It's a 2-page form. You're supposed to circle the board you want to go to and then state your reason why. It's really geared towards, more so towards identifying which board you want to go to rather than furnishing the information that's needed for feedback to the applicant. So John has updated those. One of the other things that we have discussed with the board with fees last time that would update in the zoning book and that went forward to the city commission with fees is that there was not a rezone request fee for this planning commission. So when someone comes here for a rezone request, they don't have to pay a fee. So that has not been fee-based for a while. So that was added and sent forward as we discussed last month. The Board of Zoning Appeals process is different from the construction review process, is different from the sign committee process, and very different from the planning commission process. So it's just a matter of clarification and making some forms that are better suited to the operations that we're bringing to you.
Okay.
They better serve the applicant. That's all I had, John, on this.
Now,
Oh,
unless there are questions, I think Sharon covered it very well. I don't have anything to add.
One other thing I did want to add, John, and I apologize for that, and to the commission, planning commission as well. We did add the conditional use review that is tied to the new zoning district for the downtown overlay. As you know, those will be done on a conditional use that will come to the planning commission, so that application was added. And we
Okay.
already have an applicant who's ready to apply.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. To the staff here, is there anything else? John, Sharon, Jennifer, Brittany, anything else that we need to cover?
Chairman, I do have something really quick.
Okay.
I did look on the county's webpage, and there's actually a video of the last meeting.
Oh, okay, on the county webpage. Okay.
Yeah, so it's live, so you can watch it. It looks like it's a little over an hour.
Okay.
So that may
Wonderful.
be interesting.
Okay. Yeah. At least we can see if there's something that we find interesting on that. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Okay. All right. Any opposed? Okay. I take that as unanimous. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Good night.
See ya.
All right.